alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On the topic of self-development, one of our halakas, we talked about the wheel of life. The wheel of life is actually something that was prepared by another organization. I will link that in the description below, and you'll be able to find their full PDF file with regards to tips for improving your life. But the wheel of life is a short exercise you can do just to have a general inventory. You would have a look at different areas of your life and see how satisfied you feel with that. So let's take a look. So the idea is that each slice of cake or piece of pie in this chart is representing one aspect of your life. So let's take a look at creativity. And you would decide whether or not you are happy with that. So we have a scale of 0 and 10, 0 to 10. You would mark on this chart how satisfied you feel with this area of your life, how important each area for you is. You would mark that by making the line thicker. And this is a representation of how your chart might look like at the end. So different pieces would be selected. You'd have different levels of satisfaction. But the darker the line is, the more important it is for you. So let's take a look at the chart as a whole. First, we have societal involvement at the top. So you can think about how involved do you feel in society? This could be perhaps the area you live in, with your neighbors, or wider society in your local communities. This could be in the place, in the city or village that you live in, or the country as a whole. Social and friends. How happy are you with this area of your life right now? If you're feeling quite happy with it, perhaps you could mark it 7, 8, 9. How satisfied are you with those relationships or the time that you get to spend with them? Love and partnership. How satisfied are you with this area of your life on a scale of 0 to 10? Family life. Place of living and environment. Finances. Career, work, studies. So obviously, whether you are in the business world or a student or working somewhere, how happy are you with this aspect of your life? Health and fitness. This could be related to how well do you think you're eating, looking after your health in general. Do you go to regular checkups at specific doctors, like, I don't know, the dentist, every now and then? It could be exercise and fitness. It could be how much do you take care of yourself. It could be about also your sleep. How well are you taking care of your body? Fun and recreation. How much time do you get for free time and to really do something that will help you recharge? Creativity, which I mentioned as an example in the beginning. What does it mean to you and how happy are you with it in your life? Personal development. Is this an area in your life that you've been able to focus on? If you've been doing this series with us, we talked about personal development. We linked it to Tazkiyah, which is about purification of the soul, changing for the sake of Allah, becoming a better Muslim. Self-development can mean many different things. It could be about developing your soft skills, such as communication, and maybe your relationships. It could be about developing yourself in other areas. Actually, we have different areas and aspects of life that have already been marked on this chart. Purpose and spirituality. How happy are you with your sense of purpose and how spiritual you are? Spirituality is really important because it's very different from religiosity, which we are religious. We have Islam as our religion, but how closely do you feel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How much do you think that you can pay attention in your salah? Do you have that khushu? How much taqwa do you feel in your everyday life? Are you conscious about Allah being near? How much do you feel happy in this area of your life? If you're satisfied with this area of your life, you might mark it a 9, for example. So at the end of this exercise, you would have this chart and you would have different aspects, different areas of your life being marked as how happy you are with it. And again, make sure that when you draw the line, so I'm just going to do an example. Let's say I draw a line here. I might say social involvement is not as important for me as, let's say, personal development. So I might mark personal development more, and I might make the line a bit thicker because I think that's very important. Or I might think social and friendship is very important. Make it the line thicker, but let's say I think creativity is less important for me. So I might put it at a 5 and maybe with a thinner line. Actually, this pen is quite thick, so I could choose maybe fun and recreation is important. I'm satisfied with it, but it's not as important for me right now. This is actually a very interesting exercise because it would help you figure out what are the areas really that you're very happy with. How far are you happy with them, and also sort of where do you wish to change your life, in which area, and also what is important to you really. And then there's this little exercise here. Notice which areas have a lot that's already working well. Write below what specifically you are happy with. Appreciate yourself for having created it, and obviously thank Allah. If you like, decorate, color in, or accentuate these areas of the wheel. Okay, which areas are you less happy with? List them below. So let's say we can pick top 3 areas we wish to develop. So let's say I'm going to write down maybe career. That could be a popular one for many people at this age. We're mostly a student group. And maybe I wish to improve health and fitness. Let's go for that. I think you could never go wrong with putting some time and effort into this area because there's always so much more to improve. And let's go with spirituality. I'm going to put not purpose, but spirituality. I think you can always increase that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and then if you want, you can pick one from the list above and work within the following pages, and then the next part of the PDF file will actually go through some tasks. But in either case, this is the exercise of the wheel. I would just like to make a couple of comments. So now if you actually the PDF will have been sent in the group chats actually, but also you will find them at the link to the website underneath this YouTube video. And I would now ask you that if you fill this out for yourself, pause the video, and I want to just reflect after that, if you can when you carry on some tips of how to improve these things. So if you want to take a break. And now let's reflect. So let's say you filled out this wheel. So I'm just going to put a very random, let's say we're going to do it like one is smaller, bigger. Okay. Let's say this is my wheel. Let's make some other things important because it feels like, oh, I've got 2 here. So let's make it lower. Maybe this is important for me. I don't know. Okay, here we go. So what I would do is I would figure out, for example, when I see a person's chart, okay, and let's try to color this in. Maybe I might want to put this a little bit lower. So once you see someone's chart, okay, once you look at your own, there's one thing that I think is very interesting is, first of all, do you find that you've actually managed to fill in this wheel, or do you find that there is a lot to improve? Because sometimes we did this in a group exercise, so I'm doing this video right after the fact that we've actually had a halakha in person, and we sat together, many of us sisters, in the mosque, and we had lots of other conversations, but we did this task as well. And my comment is that when you see that so many parts of your life is still quite small, so you might think, oh, actually I would like to improve I don't know, social and friendships, and I don't understand why it's so low. Maybe it's very important to me, so actually I highlighted this one as a very important. And just remember that it's completely normal to have a chart that's not quite filled out yet. And actually the idea is that as you grow in your life and as you develop each area, that this chart would get filled out more. So you might fill out this chart now, and next year you might do it again, and it could look very different. So the idea is that we take one step at a time. So I might say, okay, now 2025 is coming, and I'm going to be focusing on my friendships, and let's say, okay, and my spirituality. All right, so I'm going to pick two low ones, and I'm not going to focus on everything. I'm not going to try to be sort of a superhero and be perfect at everything, or completely be able to improve everything at the same time. There's no time in the world, to be honest. Like, you have to really prioritize. So pick two things or three things that you really wish to improve. But it's better, the less you pick, the better. Even if you just picked, I don't know, social and friendships, and all you did for the next 3 months is focus on your friendships, this would make a massive change for you in this area. How could you improve? So let's go for this example. How could we develop an area in our life? Do some research about it. There are plenty of professionals who will be able to talk to you about the thing that you're interested in and give you tips and advice. Take it one step at a time. If you're working with people, then make sure you're only taking on one or two people, like 2-3 people at a time. Let's say if this was career, only think about the next step first, and you go and you try to figure that out and keep moving forward. Don't think about 10 years time, I should be here and I'm not there yet, and give yourself the time. You won't wake up tomorrow and this chart will be completely filled out. The other thing is, what I would say, so this is like, always take it one step at a time. Select only a couple of things to improve. Okay, so that's my first tip. The second tip, and the mistake people make, actually there's another thing. Don't fill out so you might have filled out this chart and thought about how much time am I spending on each one, and based on that you filled it out. So maybe somebody who doesn't spend so much time on their friendships might have made it low. A person who spends a lot of time on their family and career, maybe they might have put it on a larger scale. But the idea is that actually this chart is not really about the time you spent, because what's so magical? How come you might meet someone 5 years older than you and they might have a much more filled out chart? So let's make this more visually similar. So let's say someone might look more like this. They're actually quite happy with quite a few of these areas in their life. This could be because they're actually have already taken those steps, to improve these areas. So don't think that, oh no, I'm sort of behind and I'm not there yet. Just think about the fact that the person had more time, and maybe they have been on this self-development journey and developing their life for a longer time than you have. Maybe for someone this is year 1 of their journey. This is they first start thinking about these things. Somebody might have been working on this for 2-3 years or more. So when you see someone sort of where they're at in their life, don't try to compare yourself to them. Try to compare yourself to you 2 years ago. Do you feel different from who you are 2 years ago? Let's say if so, maybe you're very satisfied with your personal development. This doesn't mean that the person is perfect, but what they're happy with maybe is the process they've been taking. Maybe they've made the most of their journey in maybe 2024. They did their very best and did a lot of self-development, so now they are feeling quite satisfied with this area. It doesn't mean that they don't want to improve on anything else, more on themselves. It just means that they're happy with where they're at the moment and maybe looking forward to the next steps. Same goes, for example, with spirituality. but all the other areas as well, maybe your career, maybe somebody's actually studying right now, so they're very satisfied with where they're at the moment, but maybe they are of course still looking forward to the time when they start working. So it doesn't mean that they're, feel like, okay, this is where I want to be for the rest of my life. It just means that right now I'm very happy with where I am. So that's satisfaction. I think the other thing that can be a tip as well is be grateful. Feel gratitude, practice gratitude. This is also part of our spirituality and self-development actually. The more you practice gratitude, the more you might find that actually this chart gets filled out for you a lot more, because you realize that actually I'm quite happy with these areas of my life, a little more than I used to be, because since I'm thinking about things from a more of a gratitude perspective, how amazing it is that Allah has blessed me with these things, I might feel a lot more satisfied. This is what's interesting about this chart. It's not really assessing sort of how great you might have done in a certain area. Let's say your career. Are you at the top of your field or not? This is about how much do you feel that you're at the right place at the moment. And this could still mean that next year you want to, grow more in that area. But are you satisfied in it? Why? Because actually, if you feel satisfied, if you feel happier in your life, it does give you far more energy and sort of peace. You feel at peace, you feel at ease. These are some of the things that we also practice with a lot of dhikr and dua. Feeling grateful, subhanallah, bihamdi, etc. Feeling gratitude, feeling content, feeling at peace, at ease, that I'm trying my very best. And Allah has also blessed me, and now I feel like I am doing well in my life. This is something that we might aspire to achieve. And the other thing that comes with this gratitude is the concept of a glass half full and half empty. This is a very interesting looking glass. I apologize for that, but let's say, if you're thinking, well, actually my glass is half full, then you have quite a lovely, a great perspective on life. Because actually Allah has blessed us with many, many things, and we sometimes forget that. Just remember sort of all of those hadiths or challenges that Allah sets for us. If you tried to count all of His blessings for you, you would not be able to do so. So how much are we blessed? If you don't feel that, think about all the people that have lived or who live in this time who have less than you. Each aspect, think about one aspect that you're less satisfied with. Let's say finance, you might wish to have more, but is it that you don't have enough? Or is it that you just wish to have more? Because if you look around in the world, there are plenty of people who would love to be as rich as you are, even when you're feeling at your poorest, because we forget how much we actually live in prosperity. So I'm talking about most people live in Hungary now, so from the community, so usually you might be quite well off in comparison to many other people. And there are some just statistics that say that a top few percent of people, or let's say like actually that poverty is such a big issue across the globe. We don't even notice in the West or the other countries as well, other places, that how much we actually have. If that doesn't help, then think about all the people that used to live before you 300-400 years ago. What did they do? Even just something as health and fitness or eating, or what about food and provision? The average person a few hundred years ago in Europe might not have had enough to feed their family, and might have lived off of the same few things. They don't have this lavish lifestyle where they can literally just walk into the supermarket and get any kind of food they wish from around the world, really, because you could literally buy any kind of food or make it and cook it, and everything's ready for you in your house. So you just have to really look at that area from the perspective of glass half full. what is it that you actually do have? Because granted, you do not have those things. Allah gave them to you. Don't take it for granted. Don't feel like, oh, I've lost some money in my investments, or I'm not doing so well at university. I used to get better grades, or I don't know. Recently, I'm having difficulty in terms of my family or love life with my husband or wife or whatever, or thinking that okay, well, I think I used to have a lot more free time, but nowadays I don't, and that makes me sad. We're always looking at the glass half empty. What is it that we're missing? What else do we want more of in our life? A person can become totally depressed and sad, whilst Shaitan is getting this magnifying glass on the one area and aspect of your life that you feel you're missing out on the most. Whereas actually, if you looked at all of these areas together, you might find that you could be quite happy, and actually there are plenty of people around the world who would love to have the life that you have in, even with your difficulties. I'm not saying, anybody has a perfect life, but at least try to notice the blessings that you do have in your life. So that would be my other tip. If you think that you wish to improve this chart for the future, sometimes it's not even about how much work you put into an area of your life. Sometimes it's actually about the perspective with which you see things. And say Alhamdulillah, because again, those things, they don't belong to you. Allah gave them to you temporarily, and He could take them away anytime. I think health is a brilliant example for that. Sometimes we might think, oh, well, I'm having a couple issues with my health, or I don't know, it could be even that you're healthy, or then you get sick and you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm literally dying. Why is Allah doing this to me? Why am I sick? Well, actually, you've been very healthy. It's actually a reminder that, you know what? Most of the time, you're very, very healthy. Most of the time, you don't have any issues. And now for a week you've been sick and we're complaining already? There are people who are struggling with health for years within our own ummah, within our own community. I know of several people, various issues, from mental health to physical health, and people around them as well, trying to support them, and those people who are going through it as well, struggling with these things. Or it could be that yes, it's a long-term problem, but still, we actually have that health up to this point. We're so lucky. We're so blessed. Allah gave us the chance to live our life with, let's say, even with something small as if somebody's wearing glasses and your sight might be getting worse or something like that. But you had sight in the first place. You had your eyes in the first place. Some people are born and they never see the light of day. Small story just to example of gratitude is, I remember when I was a teenager, this was many, many years ago, I used to volunteer in a farm. In this farm they had so it's a horse farm with ponies, and they used to have classes for children, and mostly children with various disabilities, which meant that we would go in the morning. I used to go in for a few hours on Saturdays. Go in the morning, you would spend an hour preparing horses, and then the next hour you would spend supporting the children as they're riding. And I remember one of those days, because I was very used to working with disabled children, and even after this I volunteered in a school. But so actually this I also recommend to learn more about different disabilities that people live with, because it's absolutely amazing to see kind of how different everyone's life is in this world. Sometimes we get so bogged down in our own little issues, but then people are actually struggling with much more in the families. So in this instance, in this Saturday, there was a girl I remember, and I was actually helping her on the horse. There's usually 3 people per child, one person just leading the horse, and because these are when we have very small children, and then 2 of us next to the child. So when they placed this child on the horse, they were telling us that actually we have to help her, we would hold her leg as well on the horse, just to support, just to make sure she's not going to fall down, because she's very small, of course, even though it's a pony. She's still very small. And we were told that this child, she can't really speak, because actually she's not only she's blind and she's deaf, so we can't communicate with her at all. She's never seen the light of day, and she's never heard a sound in her life. Imagine. And I just remember for that 1 hour, that whole hour, walking next to the child, that how happy she was, and she was smiling. The fact she's having this experience with this animal, the connection, it's very therapeutic for them. So it's this connection with this animal, horse riding, and feeling, the breeze on your face maybe, and all these tactile experiences. Because for her, hearing and seeing is not part of her world. Her world was only purely touch. So anyway, this is my little anecdote. But yes, this is so I don't want to spend more of your time, but I encourage you to try to do this activity and see things from a little bit of a different perspective. The next time that we find something we wish we would have, think about all the people that have even less than you, and also think about all the things that you do have. Try to focus on the positives and keep praying to Allah. I can't stress this enough. You can do all sorts. You can do your research. You can keep trying new things, new methods to improve, your career, or your social relationships, or your spirituality. You can, every time you find that you would stop, you can just keep encouraging yourself to keep going. You could find a buddy to study with, or someone to study, Quran with, or join these kind of lectures, halakas. We have so many options. There are so many programs out there, especially in Budapest. There's so much you could do, but make sure that you follow the little there's this saying, there are people using them, what we use in Islam as well now, make sure you tie your camel first. But that means that you should do your job and your best first, but then also you should be praying to Allah. Make dua and ask Allah to help you improve that area of your life. And I wish you all the best with that. May Allah help you in that. May Allah help us all. And may Allah protect us. And may Allah make us feel gratitude. And a small note, we are already preparing for Ramadan. So watch out in the group chats for those names of Allah to get close to Him and perhaps improve that spirituality. Okay? Thank you for joining me today. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.